Well guys, I made some serious progress. Tonight's been pretty productive. I put the mount on the old transfer case, this factory style one over here. I put it on the old transfer case when it was in the truck, tightened everything up, saw where it needed to be, and I marked the holes on the frame. And then I took the old transfer case out. You can see it's laying right there. Took the old transfer case out, punched and drilled those holes on the frame for these bolts here. And then once those were drilled, I scraped the gasket and everything off of the tail shaft, tail housing, and put my new gasket on and lifted the new transfer case up in there, or the rebuilt one. And then got the mount all tightened up. Everything's done on this side. The last thing that I'm gonna do is support this side. But yeah, I'm gonna come up with some way of supporting this over here. I'm gonna put some kind of rubber bushing in here with a bolt that goes through it, and I'll have two ears that come down off the frame, and then I'll slot the holes on the plate that goes right here so it's adjustable. And then I'll have my transfer case supported on the passenger side. I have these bushings that came off a John Deere combine. I cut this one off the other side, and I got a new rubber bushing for it, and I ordered a plate online that'll fit. And so I'm going to finish that up. I'll have a rubber bushing in there so it's not solid, and I should have this thing done this weekend. Alright guys, I got it tacked on here. I got my 3 slots milled out, 3/8. I went a little over so that the bolts are, so I don't have to be dead on. I need to drill this still, but this is how it's gonna work. I got to take it home, make sure that everything is gonna line up, or it's gonna be even close. Then I'll drill these holes, and then I'll weld this up solid, and I'll be done. Alright guys, I got the frame part welded up. I got my holes drilled in there. Next up, I'm going to press this new bushing in here. And then I'll be ready to paint it and put it in the truck. Well, you guys, I finished up the transfer case mount. And I've been laying on the floor here for, I don't know, 20 minutes and thinking, hey, that came out pretty good. You know, pretty soon I'll be able to put the exhaust back in the truck. And then I got to thinking, the exhaust comes out right over there. And it goes to right about there. Which means it goes, oh, I don't know, right about there. So I figure I'll lay here for another hour or two. Somehow I gotta make it work. I really don't want to redo the exhaust. There's nothing wrong with the exhaust, and I don't really want to complicate it. So I really don't want to throw this away, because I spent the last 3 nights working on it. So I'm gonna lay here for another hour or two going idiot, trying to figure out my next move. You know, I wonder, can a guy flip this up and maybe flip this upside down? I don't know if I'll have to drill a new hole in there or what. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I just wish I was a little smarter. The feller may have gotten lucky. I guess the moral of the story is, use your brains, guys. This is just dumb. Well, I laid the exhaust back in because I need to get an idea of what I got to do here. And you know, I messed up on that mount, but sometimes this fabrication stuff has some luck involved to it, because I thought about this exhaust cutout when I was making the transmission cross member, and I thought, man, I hope that clears that exhaust cutout. And I went back and I looked and analyzed a bunch of videos and got an idea of where this cutout was in relation to holes on the frame and stuff. I thought, yeah, that's gonna clear that cross member. It'll be close, but it'll clear. And boy, it couldn't have been any closer. I mean, just look at this fitment here. I mean, does it get any better than that? The whole reason I put this here instead of further back, see, the reason I don't like it here is because it is, well, under the cab. It is loud, but I'm a little more worried about carbon monoxide with it. But the reason I put it here originally was to protect it from with the old cross member. I didn't want to snag this thing on anything and wipe it off there. These things are pretty expensive, and I don't really want to, you know, rip my exhaust off if I don't have to. So I hit it, tucked it up underneath that cross member, and man, it laid just behind this one perfect too. So sometimes you get lucky, and well, sometimes you don't. Alright guys, so I'm not the smartest in the world, clearly, because I got myself into this situation. But here's how I'm going to get myself out of it. I put this piece on here. I traced this out with the hole in it and everything. I laid it on here. And I made a perpendicular line. And I got it lined up with the hole in there. And I drew a straight line from this edge to the center of that hole. And then I took that angle and I cut it in half and I put it on here. It's actually that pencil one, but I'm making it a little less aggressive. I'm gonna cut about on that Sharpie line right there. And when I lay this one on here, this is the same thing, just with half of that angle cut out. And I line that one up with the hole in there. Now, if I take and flip this, which is what I plan to do, I plan on cutting this and then flipping it. So I take and flip this piece of paper and I line it back up like I'm going to when I weld it back on. That's going to be my cut line. I'll flip it back over, butt it up against it, I'm going to V it out, and it should be pretty close. If it's not exact, I can open up this hole another size, and I can also move this because I haven't drilled the holes for this yet. Alright y'all, this is the moment of truth. No, that is pretty darn close. Alright guys, so I got the piece modified. I got it welded back on right there, and then I took the torch, radius this out, radius that piece. The exhaust is in, and it clears. We've got, I don't know, that's maybe probably a ½ inch up in there. The transfer case brace is done. It's bolted into the truck. Exhaust cut out and everything clears. The drive shaft is back in the truck. And it's just about the perfect length. So I believe I am done down here, other than filling this up with fluid and filling the transmission up with fluid. And so the last piece of the puzzle was the master cylinder. And I've been putting that off. And I've been putting that off for a good reason. It's not easy. Long story short, I hate laying underneath the dash of pickups on my head. So here's what I did. I'm using the factory linkage, And I made up a new plate to go on there. And I've got to extend that rod 2 1/4 inches. And I made this bracket here, you can see. And the master cylinder is actually going to be mounted on the frame. And it's going to operate off of the stock mechanical linkage. And I don't think it looks half bad. It'll be easy to add fluid to. Where it was going to be, if it was on the dash or on the firewall, was going to be right there. And it was going to be difficult to add fluid to. And going to have to brace the firewall. That would have been a project. And I just really don't like working under the dash, so it's going down there on the frame. I had to bend it a little to make the angle right, but it works pretty well. And then another thing is this rod, the clutch rod that goes to the pedal, was pretty well shot. Now obviously I could have just welded that up and ground it back down into shape, which is what I would normally do. But I'm trying to make this clutch feel as good as possible. So what I did was made a new clutch rod. I had some Heim joints laying around from another project that never got used. And so I added these Heim joints on the end. And this rod was just laying around at the farm. So I chucked it in the lathe and I drilled out the end and tapped it, and then I cut the heads off some bolts. I don't know if you can see it down there or not. And I cut the heads off some bolts and threaded it in there, measured it to length. So it's the same length as that clutch rod, but now I have Heim joints on there. It moves pretty smooth. The last thing I have to figure out is the spring situation. Right now, when you press the clutch pedal, it works exactly like it's supposed to, except for one thing. Yeah, it doesn't come back. Fixed. Alright you guys, this is just a piece I whipped up real quick out of some scrap iron we had laying around. I've got these little clips that I'm going to put on there, but it works. I think that should work no problem. Alright you guys, made a ton of progress in the last couple days. I didn't really record any of it, but you'll take my word for it. I cut the transmission tunnel, moved this hole back about 3 inches, and then I made this piece to go in here, and I ended up moving this hole back about 3 inches, and then I welded up the front, and then I welded all the old holes shut and drilled new ones, put new self-tappers in for the new boots. And so that's ready to go back in now. I got that painted last night. And then I just got all my hardware to mount this on the floor. I'm going to put all new 1/4 inch hardware in there. I'm trying to get this thing back to where I can put the seat in it so I can take it for a test drive. But it did back out of the barn under its own power last night. So the master cylinder down there, we got it all bled out. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to bleed it again, but I want to test drive it first. But we're getting there. Hey guys, unfortunately that's the last clip that I have of putting the truck back together. It went together okay. I was just in a little bit of a hurry. I wanted to test drive it. It's been sitting in the barn in pieces for, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months. And the test drive went okay. The transmission shifted okay. Later that day, I tried driving it, and everything went downhill. So the truck is actually back in the shop right now in pieces. I developed a leak on the input shaft seal. It it looked like a new seal. The whole transmission had been resealed, but apparently that shaft or that seal got gouged with whoever put it back together. But you know what happened? So it was dumping ATF into the bell housing, so I dropped the trans back out. The truck is all back apart now. And the transmission is down at a transmission shop. He's going to go through and put that front seal in it and check everything else out while he's in there. But that wasn't the end of it. I had a pretty unfortunate issue with the turbo, which is actually sitting right here. And I guess if you want to see what happened there, you'll have to stick around and watch the next video. But it was just not a great deal. I don't know if you can see that. Stuff happens. I got a new one on the way, but if you want to see what happened with that one, stick around. Thanks for watching Wasted Paycheck Garage.